Welcome back. Panel is here. Washington Post columnist Eugene Robinson, Eliana Johnson, national political reporter for Politico, NBC News correspondent Katy Tur, and David Brody, chief political analyst for CBN News. Eliana Johnson, here's what President Trump tweeted out after the ruling. As I predicted all along, Obamacare has been struck down as an unconstitutional disaster. Now Congress must pass a strong law that provides great health care and protects pre-existing conditions. Mitch and Nancy, get it done. It's the visual of McConnell and Pelosi somehow rewriting the health care law with Donald Trump as president. What does that look like?
I think that's a vision that nobody in this town can conjure right now. And Donald Trump may be the only Republican cheering this decision, which is somewhat fascinating. Looking at conservative legal scholars and conservatives at large, there's nobody who seems to be happy about this ruling, and to think its reasoning makes much sense, which is really that you can't have a tax of $0, which Republicans in the House, they did away with the individual mandate by just saying the tax on it is $0. But, you know, before Obamacare went into law, you heard conservatives say, once you pass an entitlement, you can't take it away. And I think the feeling several years in is that it's too hard to take away because it's increased in popularity.
It sounded to me like Republicans are hoping this thing gets tossed.
Oh, yeah. They're hoping, they are like rooting for the circuit court to throw it out like next week, right? I mean, they just want this out of the way because as long as this is sort of pending, and it does seem to be a weird, and I'm not a lawyer, I can't call it ridiculous, I guess, reasoning, the decision. But it seems ridiculous to me. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I've read, commentary by a lot of legal scholars who were scratching their heads. But this is awful politically for Republicans because they've got to step up, right? And they're going to have to say if push comes to shove, well, yeah, we got to do something about pre-existing conditions. Well, yeah, we got to preserve all these protections because if they don't, they're just going to get blown out.
In looking at the timeline of how this would get appealed if it doesn't get overturned, it would have to go to the Fifth Circuit and then potentially to the Supreme Court, which would mean that there would be a decision, according to experts who talk about the timeline of these things, would be in 2020, which would make it a perfect political issue for Democrats. So the idea that maybe this is not going to be a topic come 2020 in the next election is I think, a bit of wishful thinking for Republicans.
Boy,
Democrats will certainly use that.
I'm old enough to remember when the 2012 Supreme Court decision was going to just be the be-all, end-all of that presidential election.
Well, here comes John Roberts again, potentially, on Obamacare, part two, to potentially save the Democrats again. So I think that'll be interesting to watch. Look, I also think it's an opportunity for a potential reset here. I mean, look, Obamacare was passed on in terms of just a full partisan vote here. Right. I mean, so we know this. So here we are. Let's just say, for example, they do need to start from scratch, if you will. It does give Republicans and Democrats a chance to do it, quote, the right way, or at least the way that both parties have always said all along, that it needs to be bipartisan. Well, maybe this is a chance. Yeah, pie in the sky, but at least it gives Republicans a reset point.
Let me remind people here. I'm going to put up top issues, most important issue in the 2018 midterm elections from the exit poll. It was health care, and it wasn't that close. Yeah. Okay? It was health care, and immigration and economy almost had to be combined to get over health care.
And that's the context here. We have to step back and look at the context. Our health care system is crazy. I mean, it is crazy. It is
convoluted.
Well, it is still the case. We have, some of the best medicine in the world, right? And space-age medicine and laser surgery and everything else. But it is still the case, even after the Affordable Care Act, that a catastrophic illness can bring financial ruin to a family. That we just don't have the protections and the access that the rest of the industrialized world has.
Let me shift here. It was sort of like, what else are you going to put on Washington dysfunction? We had new investigation this week, Katy Tur. We had Michael Cohen's now basically charged that the president directed him to commit crimes, and the federal government backing him up on this. Now you throw healthcare into this atmosphere, but this atmosphere, as crazy as it always is in the Trump era, It's like we stepped it up a notch.
Lawmakers will tell you that they can walk and chew gum at the same time. In the past 2 years, though,
They have to do the soft
a lot has gotten done, even though the Congress has been controlled by Republicans from top to bottom. They got a tax law, but they certainly didn't get health care. And they didn't try even to broach infrastructure. So when you throw in the House being led by Democrats now and all the investigations that are going to pop up with them, it's going to be difficult to get a lot done in these next 2 years. Politically speaking, that might be a benefit in a backwards way to Donald Trump, because he can go out and tell his voters, hey, listen, nothing's getting done because the Democrats are trying to obstruct at every corner. And he'll actually have Democrats who maybe will not be working with him. But then again, he did run on being a deal maker. He ran on getting things done and changing things.
Look, I want to put up, maybe we now know why Eliana had a hard time finding a chief of staff. 4 people. It is amazing to me that 4 people went out of their way to publicly pull themselves out of contention, to make it clear, no, I did not want to be the full-time chief of staff. Nick Ayers, Chris Christie, Rick Santorum, Mark Meadows, all, which is something we know the president hates, the perception that nobody wants to work for him. He sort of settles on Mick Mulvaney, and then what happens? Do we find out immediately? Hey, Mick Mulvaney once trashed President Trump. Let me show you this clip.
Yes, I'm supporting Donald Trump. I'm doing so as enthusiastically as I can, given the fact I think he's a terrible human being. But the choice on the other side is just as bad.
That's his chief of staff.
You know, I think Mike Pence may be the only person in Washington who would say Donald Trump is a good person. So Mulvaney certainly isn't the odd man out on that. But, you know, I really can't think of a time in Washington where there's been so much uncertainty. There's uncertainty about whether there's going to be a government shutdown 6 days from now, uncertainty about what our trade policy is and whether there's going to be a trade war with China, uncertainty about what the Mueller investigation is going to bring. And the president now has an acting chief of staff. And, you know, this is a president who probably needs a chief of staff more than any president in recent history, but who simply won't let somebody do the job. And so we're really at a sort of fascinating juncture, I think, in American politics, and we have no idea what the next 6 months to a year will bring.
And that's why I said, that's why we all want to have the acting title these days when it comes to Washington. Anyway. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.